Chapter 24. Judy and Bob Go to Dinner. Judy Hunsaker was rooted at her desk in Salt Lake City, feverishly catching up on her haystack of form filling and report writing. A commotion rippled through the cubicles, and people seemed to be racing to the front desk. "That guy from the video is here," Carly Singleton giddily informed her. "Come on." Judy logged off and ambled to the reception area, where she joined a mob of well-wishers. "I want to thank everyone in this office for their continued good work. I want to especially thank members of the uncoordinated video team." Judy found herself cheering along with the rest of the crowd. "In Texas, I had the good fortune to meet Agents Hunsaker and Clemens, and I am impressed with their dedication, devotion, and diligence. It made me proud to be a senior agent." More cheering. Bob had found another loving crowd. At the conclusion of the reception, Bob Henderson was whisked away by office big shots who wanted to get their pictures taken with him. As she settled into her workstation, Judy's cell vibrated in her pocket. A text from Bob, who was using his other hand to direct his flow of urine in the men's room. "Dinner tonight?" Without hesitating, Judy iconed yes and sent her reply. She briefly stared off into space. She had not felt this way since high school. Where would Bob Henderson take her? Maybe one of those 12-seat high-end places with unlisted numbers. Maybe it would be an exclusive club with 4-star chefs. Or maybe it would be one of those pricey fusion places Judy had heard so much about. Judy would settle for Grillies, an informal restaurant that served no entree except for countless variations of grilled cheese sandwiches. She was about to learn that Bob Henderson was good with $1, even when using an expense account. "Don't call attention to yourself. Auditors bag more G-men than criminals ever will," he explained sagaciously, and after imparting a few more bon mots, the subject turned, as they knew it would, to Veritas. Bob Henderson had been one of the first 100 members of Veritas, and Judy Hunsaker came along right after him. It had been founded as a lowly blog 1 year earlier by a federal drug agent and a state of New York narcotics agent. A TV show about drug enforcement was running at the time. It was a great show, but every episode concluded with the star agent expressing a token of remorse. "I wouldn't be human if I didn't feel something for..." "Why can't we admit our true feelings?" the founder, who called himself Dark Narc, posed in the blog's intro. "Why can't we admit that we are not sad to see scumbags suffer? We might even admit that we feel good when we see scumbags suffer." The floodgates had opened, and Bob Henderson had committed key lines to memory. "Call it schadenfreude, sadism by proxy," Bob Henderson recited, gazing off at the ceiling. "Why can't we admit our feelings? If we wanted to help human train wrecks, we would have become social workers." And Judy studied Bob with dashing heart. He seemed like a character in a black and white movie. He was skinny. Few American men were skinny these days. They were usually chubby or obese, but they usually had big muscles. Even slender guys had big arms compared to the scarecrows of yesteryear. You just didn't see many Fred Astaire's or Bing Crosby's anymore. But Bob Henderson had that look. Because of his slight build, Bob Henderson's suit fit differently than most men. And he had not tried to touch up his hair. His once blackish corn silk had turned into gray bristles that covered his entire scalp. He wore nondescript glasses as if he was going to commit a robbery and wanted nothing unusual for the witnesses to remember. He was average height, and Judy noticed that his manners were perfect. "About as good as 57 can ever look," Judy said to herself when they met in Texas. Judy had tried to recite from Veritas archives, but she did not share Bob Henderson's eidetic memory. No, Judy, it went, pausing for a sip of Mountain Dew. Ours is not the currency of lucre. Ours is the currency of tears. What would it profit a man to gain the whole world if he could not see the color drain from the face of our enemy, and to see his mother sob in horror? And Judy tried to recite another verse, but stalled a short way after starting. Bob grinned and grew professorly. I know which submission you mean, Judy, but I don't have it committed to memory. Batman stated that the drug agents on TV declared their humanity by expressing sympathy for the conquered. But it's also quite human to feel joy in other people's suffering. And he cited numerous examples: gladiator fights, blood sport, lynchings, public executions, perp walks, and on and on. Nothing wrong with a little suffering if the right people suffer. All of humanity hold those feelings. Why can't we be truthful about it? Only when Bob used the men's room did Judy take her eyes off of him. She studied her surroundings, which she had ignored to this point. A lot of crutchy vegan types. Not surprising for a menu that offered soy cheese and rice bread and 7 kinds of sprouts. The motif was unremarkable except for the loud blue and orange colors that discouraged dawdling, and for the toy and model cars that were glued on tables and walls and of the backs of booths. Matchbox, Hot Wheels, plastic model kits. These little cars were pasted everywhere. There were hundreds of them. When Bob returned, Judy quoted a post by a charter member who called himself Spider-Man. We are the virtuous because we channel our sentiment in a productive manner. Our feelings, I reject the term sadism, provide social utility. Our sentiments do provide social utility. Bob Henderson beamed with fatherly agreement as he took a small bite on his elk brie and tomato on marble grilled and sesame oil sandwich. Judy's heart pummeled even harder with her winning his approval. This was more exciting than her first prom. The conversation flowed like an inner tube on a spring river, and Judy cooed with every smile, grin, and chuckle from her dinner mate. The topic was Veritas and Veritas only until the cheddar ice cream was served. The conversation took a culinary turn from which it would not return. Halfway through dessert, Judy declared this evening to be one of the finest she had ever known. She would reconsider that position at the conclusion of dinner when Bob Henderson offered to walk her to her car. Why had he not asked her to join him in his hotel room? It was a question she would ask herself over and over for weeks to come.